There's a moment in every trader's journey when calm meets chaos. You've learned awareness. You've studied patience. You've practiced discipline. But then the market shifts. Volatility returns like a storm. Charts explode with movement. Spreads widen, emotions wake up again. And suddenly, all the peace you built feels fragile. The storm doesn't ask if you're ready. It just arrives. Discipline is tested not when the market is quiet, but when everything moves faster than your thoughts. You watch candles spike. Your plan whispers, wait. But your fear screams louder. Don't miss it. You hover over the button. You feel your pulse rise. You justify the impulse. And within seconds, discipline begins to blur into control. Because that's the truth about discipline. It's not rigidity. It's rhythm. And when fear enters, rhythm breaks. Control feels like safety. But in trading, control is the illusion that destroys clarity. You try to control the market. You force trades to fit your bias. You try to control time. You enter early, exit late. You try to control outcomes. You move your stop just a little more. And every act of control moves you one step further from discipline. Because discipline is not about dominance. It's about surrendering to structure. Following your rules. Even when your mind begs to break them. Control says, I can change the market. Discipline says, I can change myself. That's the line that separates survival from destruction. In volatility, the human mind searches for certainty. It wants order. It wants the comfort of knowing what comes next. But the market is not a place of order. It's a living field of chaos. An infinite wave of probabilities that can never be mastered through force. And yet, the irony is this. The only way to find stability inside chaos is to stop fighting it. To let volatility be volatile. To let uncertainty exist. Without making it your enemy. Most traders fail here. Not because they lack skill. But because they mistake chaos for threat. They tense up. They narrow their focus. They stop seeing clearly. When chaos rises, their instinct is to regain control. But control is panic wearing a mask. Discipline, on the other hand, is stillness. It's sitting through the storm. Without losing your rhythm. It's keeping your rules intact. When your instincts beg to break them. It's choosing clarity over comfort. The true battle is invisible. It happens before every click. In the small pause between impulse and action. That's the battlefield of the mind. That's where discipline lives. It's not about saying no to emotion. It's about seeing it rise. And not letting it steer. It's about acting from awareness. Not reaction. The mind will whisper. You're missing out. You should have entered. Look, price is moving. But discipline listens deeper. To silence. Because in silence, you remember. You don't trade the noise. You trade your edge. And your edge only exists when your mind is clear. You begin to see the pattern again. When chaos increases, ego awakens. It wants to prove it can still win. It wants to outsmart the storm. But discipline doesn't prove. It preserves. It preserves balance, patience, and clarity. Three things chaos always tries to take. Every volatile session is a test of identity. Will you stay the observer? Or will you become the storm? Discipline doesn't mean emotionless. It means anchored. You can feel fear. But you don't act from it. You can feel excitement. But you don't chase it. You stand in the middle. Aware of both. Swaying but not falling. Like a candle in the wind. The flame trembles. But it doesn't go out. That's discipline. Eventually, you realize something profound. The chaos outside was never the real danger. The chaos inside was. Because the market doesn't punish you. Your reactions do. The losses hurt not because of money. But because of meaning. You take every red candle personally. You see every reversal as betrayal. But the market isn't betraying you. It's reflecting you. Every overreaction. Every hesitation. Every moment of doubt. Is the mind projecting itself onto the chart. And when you see that clearly, the line between discipline and chaos sharpens again. Discipline isn't control. It's the art of surrendering to a structure you created when you were calm. And obeying it when you are not. That's what separates traders who endure from those who disappear. Because when chaos comes, and it always will, your survival won't depend on your strategy, but on your ability to stay centered while the world loses balance. And that is where real strength begins. There's a point when volatility stops being about price. It becomes a mirror. A reflection of what's still unresolved within you. Every spike, every fake out, every unpredictable swing pulls something from deep inside. Impatience, greed, fear. Or the quiet voice that whispers, "You're not ready." Volatility doesn't just move markets. It reveals minds. You thought you understood your emotions. You built a plan. You set your rules. You practiced patience. But the market has a way of finding the one weakness you haven't healed yet. Maybe it's the need to be right. Maybe it's the fear of missing out. Maybe it's the belief that more effort means more reward. Whatever it is, volatility exposes it. It forces it to the surface. And you can't hide from it anymore. The candles flash red to green. Liquidity sweeps both sides. The chart feels alive, predatory. You start to feel the heartbeat in your fingertips. Every movement feels personal now. Every tick feels like judgment. Your mind begins to fracture between two timelines. The present moment. And the imagined outcome. You're no longer seeing the chart. You're seeing your hopes. Your fears. Your self-worth. And that's the moment volatility wins. Not because you lost a trade. But because you lost awareness. The untrained mind believes volatility is the enemy. But the truth is, volatility is neutral. It's energy, neither good nor bad. It simply amplifies what's already there. If there's greed, it magnifies it. If there's fear, it multiplies it. If there's clarity, it strengthens it. The market doesn't change you. It exposes you. That's why discipline isn't about restriction. It's about revelation. Every time you resist the urge to act impulsively, you're not fighting the market. You're revealing who's really in control inside you. Because the chaos outside only matters as much as the chaos within. You start noticing the cycle. Impulse. Action. Regret. Reflection. Promise. And then, the same impulse again. It repeats. Until you learn to see it without participating in it. That's what awareness truly means. Not detachment. But observation without interference. To watch your fear rise. And let it pass like a wave. To see your excitement build. And not ride it blindly. It's like standing in the middle of a hurricane. And realizing you are not the wind. At some point, you stop asking, when will the market calm down? And start asking, when will I? Because volatility isn't going away. But your relationship with it can change. When you stop reacting, you start perceiving. When you stop fighting, you start aligning. And slowly, chaos loses its grip. You begin to understand. Discipline isn't built during calm periods. It's forged in the storm. When your rules are hardest to follow. That's when they mean the most. Anyone can be disciplined in a quiet market. But real traders train themselves to remain still. In the noise. That's the difference between learning and becoming. You start seeing the deeper layer. The mind's attachment to outcome. Every trade becomes a reflection of identity. Winning means validation. Losing feels like failure as a person. That illusion is the core of suffering. Because as long as you equate results with worth, volatility will always control you. But when you decouple them, when a trade becomes just a trade, a moment of data, a probability expressed, you break the cycle. And in that detachment, you find peace again. You realize something profound. Discipline isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about guiding energy. Fear becomes alertness. Greed becomes focus. Anger becomes intensity. You stop fighting your emotions. And start integrating them. That's what mastery truly is. Not elimination. But transformation. Eventually, you start to feel different in the storm. Where before you panicked, now you breathe. Where before you chased, now you wait. Where before you forced, now you flow. The chaos outside still rages. But it no longer defines your state. You start to see volatility for what it truly is. Pure potential energy. It can destroy the undisciplined. But it can also empower the aligned. It's not the storm that matters. It's the sailor. Volatility exposes what you haven't mastered. Not to break you, but to show you what's left to understand. When you learn to sit still, while the chart moves violently, you realize the market was never your enemy. It was your teacher. At the beginning, discipline feels like resistance. You build rules to protect yourself from chaos. You build walls to keep your emotions in check. You fight impulses, you fight noise. You fight everything that tries to pull you away from control. But as time passes, you begin to notice. The more you fight, the tighter chaos grips you. The harder you try to control the market, the more the market controls you. That's when something shifts. You start asking the question no one talks about. What if discipline isn't about control at all? Maybe true discipline isn't about holding on, but about knowing when to let go. The greatest traders don't chase mastery through control. They move with the market, not against it. Their discipline is invisible. It's not in the absence of mistakes, but in the fluidity of recovery. When they lose, they don't flinch. When they win, they don't gloat. They flow between extremes, never held by either side. That's the discipline of surrender. To surrender doesn't mean to give up. It means to stop forcing outcomes and start trusting awareness. It means accepting that you don't control the market. You only control your alignment with it. When you stop trying to dominate the market's rhythm, you start to hear it. You begin to sense momentum before it's visible. To feel exhaustion before reversal. To see balance inside imbalance. The market hasn't changed. Your perception has. That's when the charts become quiet again. You no longer see chaos. You see structure. You no longer see randomness. You see rhythm. The same volatility that used to scare you now becomes a language you understand. Every candle, every pullback, every breakout feels like a heartbeat. You're not predicting it. You're dancing with it. You've stopped trying to win. Now, you're simply in tune. This is where trading transcends skill. It becomes an art of presence. Every trade, every decision, every moment of hesitation becomes an opportunity to return to awareness. There's no more rush. No more fear of missing out. No more need to prove anything. The ego loses its grip. And silence takes over. The storm outside is still there. Volatility still rages. Prices still fluctuate without mercy. But inside, you're still. Still, yet fully aware. That's what real discipline feels like. Not tension. But serenity within chaos. It's not the absence of reaction. It's the mastery of response. You stop needing to predict. You start to listen. You stop forcing. You start allowing. The need to control fades away. And what's left is clarity. Not the kind that sees the future. But the kind that's fully present in now. That's when the market opens itself to you. Not through logic. But through rhythm. Because the market doesn't reward control. It rewards harmony. When you surrender to that harmony, you realize something profound. The chaos never ends. But it no longer defines you. Your focus isn't on the next move. But on the quality of your awareness. Not on prediction. But on perception. You're not trading anymore. You're expressing. Through decisions, through patience, through silence. Trading becomes meditation. Execution becomes art. And discipline becomes effortless. In that stillness, you finally see. The market wasn't designed to destroy you. It was designed to reveal you. Every spike in price. Every moment of fear. Every unexpected loss. They were all invitations. To come back to awareness. To let go of resistance. To surrender not to the market. But to the truth. That you are not separate from it. You are part of its rhythm. To master the market, you must first master stillness. Not through control. Not through ego. But through surrender. That's the paradox of discipline. You win the moment you stop trying to. At the end of every battle, there is silence. The charts stop moving. The adrenaline fades. And what remains is the quiet hum of awareness. This is where most traders never arrive. The space beyond reaction. The moment after the noise. You've spent years fighting chaos. Building systems, breaking rules. Winning, losing. Repeating. But one day, you stop chasing balance. And instead, you become it. You begin to see discipline for what it really is. Not a prison of control. But a rhythm of alignment. You realize you were never trying to dominate the market. You were learning to listen to it. To flow with its uncertainty. Without losing yourself in the movement. And when that happens, something extraordinary occurs. The market stops being your opponent. It becomes your reflection. Every spike. Every sudden reversal. Every false signal. Stops feeling like an attack. It becomes communication. You start hearing what chaos is saying. That uncertainty was never your enemy. It was your mirror. A teacher disguised as turbulence. It showed you your impatience. Your need to control. Your fear of loss. Your addiction to outcome. And slowly, it taught you how to let them go. Because when awareness deepens, everything you once resisted turns into understanding. There's a point where you stop reacting to candles. You start observing yourself instead. The candle moves, you notice your breath. The spread widens, you watch your thoughts tighten. The trade hits stop, you feel the impulse to revenge trade. And you simply smile. That smile, that tiny pause before reaction, is where mastery lives. It's the smallest distance in the world. But it separates the conscious from the unconscious. The trader from the crowd. This is the paradox of control. The less you try to control the market, the more control you gain over your mind. When you stop trying to force results, you start aligning with probability. You stop needing to win. You start playing with awareness. And in that state, you can finally see that every candle, whether red or green, is just information. Not validation. Not failure. Just feedback. You stop being in the market. You start observing it. The chart becomes a meditation tool. The market becomes a mirror. And your trades become expressions of state. Your entries are no longer about prediction. They're about presence. Your exits are not about regret. They're about awareness. And when a trade ends, you don't chase another. You breathe. You review. You realign. That's not indifference. That's clarity. Somewhere along the way, you realize that the market is not a place of competition. It's a field of consciousness. Every trader is facing the same chart. But each one sees something different. Not because of indicators, but because of awareness. And the deeper yours becomes, the quieter the noise gets. You start to see patterns not in price, but in emotion. Not in volatility, but in human behavior. That's when you stop following price action and start reading psychology. You've become the observer. Calm. Aware. Unattached to the outcome. Yet fully engaged with the process. There's power in that stillness. Because when you no longer fear loss, you've already won. Not because you've mastered the market, but because you've mastered yourself. The ultimate discipline is not control, it's consciousness. When you are present, you don't need to predict. When you are aware, you don't need to force. And when you are balanced, chaos becomes harmony. The market continues to move. But you remain still. Not frozen. Not fearful. Just aware. And that's when you finally understand. You were never trading the market. You were trading your own reflection all along.